Hope here at Crafty Hope, and welcome to week 2 of Seek, Gather, Create. This is a challenge I'm going to tell you over and over again that happens on Instagram. It comes from 3 hostesses and a guest artist. The 3 hostesses are Lisa Goddard, Laura Dennison, and Tina Hoyce. And the guest artist this week is Dee Dee Catron of Wow Studio. So I encourage you, I'll have links below. There's a giveaway. There's all kinds of information over on their Instagram profiles, along with the Seek, Gather, Create profile. So definitely go check those out. Make sure you flip through the pictures where a lot of that information is. So it's week 2. I was out of town and I saw the prompt. So I was sitting in the hotel room this morning and thought, oh my gosh, whatever am I going to do? And y'all, I still don't know what I'm going to do. But when I got home, I was exhausted and thought, oh, I really would like to gather those things, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But I did it. I sat down, made my list, and started gathering stuff. So this week we are to seek, gather, and create with a playing card, a hidden message, the color yellow, and a skull. And if you want to play along, make sure you, like I said, use the hashtag Seek, Gather, Create Feb 2025, but definitely go read that Instagram that has all that information. So let's start with what I have sought and gathered. The first thing is a playing card. I've got several, so I have options. Well, the first thing I thought of was this little pack. I mean, this is one of those, it's not the tiniest playing cards I've ever seen, but they are some pretty small playing cards. So I thought of that. So that was the first thing I grabbed. Then I started going through and I found I had a big pack of playing cards. So I grabbed one of those. Here's just a regular old playing card. King of Hearts though, hey. And then I found this set, y'all. I have 2, a red and then this teal color, and y'all, these are in a box that is definitely like domestically US. The box itself, and the outside cover shows a different image than these. So these were put in that box, and y'all, these are not American. You can see here, this queen, that is not a Q. The king has a, like, what looks like a B on it. So it's some other language. I don't know what. But these are super pretty. The cards seem pretty old. I mean, the spacing of like these and the shape of them are definitely different. So I think, yeah, I've got some options for playing card. So for hidden message, I know there's several ways I can work in a hidden message into what I do. So I could write something down and cover it up, or slip it into a pocket or something that kind of hides it. So, but I was like, let me go ahead and put some like messages in it. So what I went for first were some, you can see these are, can you see, fortune cookies, which are hidden messages. They're hidden in a cookie. So I've got a couple of them. I thought it was kind of funny that this one says, you discover treasures where others see nothing unusual. So something that's hidden. I also pulled this out that maybe I could hide. It says love with all your heart, which I thought was pretty appropriate, this being the month with Valentine's Day. So color yellow, y'all. I don't do much with yellow. I do like a yellow ochre from time to time. So I did grab a little tube. I'm sorry, that fan was blowing if that was too loud. I did grab this tube of yellow ochre because, and I know I've got more somewhere, I just can't find it. So I got this little one. This is Fossilized Amber Distress Crayon. I have lots of other little crayons. I did grab some buttons. I have a little bowl like I had last week with the blue buttons. But there's not many in there. So I thought, okay, I'll get a button card. So I found these 2. And then I remembered I had, bought this thing of pom-pom trim that is yellow, and that's totally inspired by Lisa, one of the hostesses. She uses a lot of pom-pom. And then I also thought of this fabric, which is kind of that yellow ochre color that I really love, and I pulled it out, but I don't know that I'm going to use it, simply because I really would like to work it into something else. But if I feel like I need a pop of yellow that's not in something, I might can use a little strip of it or something. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. the hardest thing on this was skull. So I was thinking on and off the whole way home, what do I have with skulls? What do I have with skulls? And I do have, what did I do with it? I do have a part of a frog skeleton that has the skull, but it's a little bit damaged, and I'm not sure how I would use it, so I put it away. I do have some skull. I know I have some more skull beads somewhere, but I can't find it. But these are bone carved skull beads. Of course, I have lots of dictionaries, so I have this image of a skull. And in thinking about that frog skull and it being damaged, I realized, and my husband suggested maybe laser cutting a skull, like a Deus de la Muertes candy skull. And I was like, no, that's not really seasonal. That's not really what I want to do. But I was like, oh, we could 3D print a skull. So I indeed searched online. That was part of my seeking and gathering. Searched online. For some reason, I wanted a bird skull. So this was the first one we printed. And it's tiny. As you can see, it's about almost an inch, I think. This one is just under 3 inches. And I think I might have Pat print me out at least 2 more for what I'm thinking I might do. So anyway, I have this. There is some kind of like design in it, and it's just the way it prints and builds it up. So I might sand that down with my Dremel tool to get some of those lines off, or I might leave it because it's kind of almost tribal-esque. I don't even know if y'all there. Can y'all see that? Oh, there. And that's just the way that the PLA gets built up in a 3D print. So it's not as noticeable on the tiny one. So that's what I've gathered so far. I've sought out and gathered. I'm going to try to get it all nice and pretty back in my bowl. But that's it for now. I'm going to do some more thinking of it. Maybe do another 3D print or 2. And yeah, so these seem really hard to me still. Let's wait, because the cards, what am I going to do with a skull and some cards? I don't know, y'all. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Wish me luck. The first thing I did was have Pat print me up 2 more of those skulls. So he printed it because he's got the program on the computer. I basically fed him the file that I sought out and the dimensions I needed, and he did it for me. So I am sanding that bit of texture off the top of it. I just didn't like that they're all exactly the same. I wanted them to have a little more, I don't know, diversity, I suppose. So I did use my Dremel, and then I used a little bit of some finer sandpaper to just get that down. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on that. Once I had them sanded, I used this Krylon because it has a primer in it, but I don't like the color. So then I also used the Rustoleum. So it was a bit of a, I coated the top then the bottom. It was basically 4 coats of paint to get those to that nice shiny gold color that I wanted. And then I took quite a bit of time, y'all, going through my stash, sorting through things, making decisions, struggling with what to do. I really wanted to have this video up on Tuesday of this week 2 project, but it was Tuesday before I even got to work on it. So in earnest. So I finally decided to use this. It's a box lid for, I don't know, something that a watch or a wallet or something. I don't know. It says Ozark Trail on the back of it. I don't even know where I got the box. But I decided it would be a great frame for my 3 bird skulls. And I am going in with this little bit of map. I think it's a map of Ontario, but it has that line of yellow on it. So I thought, hey, there's some yellow. I'm going to put that in there. And then I took one of these cool playing cards and cut it down in half. But I also found in my search that I had these rook playing cards with a bird on it. So I thought, okay, well, that kind of like ties in some of the bird going in. And I really like that color too, but you're only going to, like the yellow, you're only really going to minimally see it. I did cut it down because there was some branding at the bottom of it that I didn't care for. And then I've got one of those fortune cookie fortunes for my hidden message. So all my things here kind of going into the collage. And I'm moving them around, trying to figure out how I like them. I think, yeah, we'll get here in a minute. I've sped this up quite a bit because I'm basically going to be sticking these things down. I am using matte gel medium to put it all down because the cards are really heavy and I wanted to make sure that it all sticks really well. So I've got my piece of map with the yellow on there. I've got a second brush here that is kind of like my clean brush that I'm using to pick up any of that gel medium that like gets kind of clumpy because I'm using such a huge brush to help spread that gel medium. And then I've got a key card thing to help make sure all my papers get flattened down really nicely and I'm not getting any wrinkles or bubbles or anything. So when I started to put down this rook card, I was struck with how like thick it was, and I thought, okay, well maybe I can separate it and tear it down. But every time I did it, it was separating like too much. Like the rook part of it, the part that I wanted, was going to end up tearing. And I was like, no, that's not what I want. So I ended up just tearing across the whole thing. And decided, okay, well, that little tear across the top will be more different texture. It's never going to get noticed underneath all these other layers that I'm going to be adding to this. And then I'm got the playing card. So I ended up cutting this one down a little bit just so that it wasn't the exact same height as the rook card. Again, giving a little bit of difference in there. And there's the other half of that card. Again, just gluing it all down with my matte gel medium. And then I'm going to put this stuff am I going to put it to the side? I think I am. I'm going to put it off to the side, maybe to dry. I can't remember. Oh gosh, I know I'm going to come in here with another hidden message. And I'm going and cleaning all of that. So no, I'm going to put that aside to kind of dry for a minute and work a bit with my skulls. So these are apparently, according to the file I found, these are raven skulls. Not that it mattered, but it just, I wanted a big bird skull. And I think it's part of the reason I went big with them is because I wanted kind of a crow or a raven, and they're definitely larger than those little ones that I had originally printed. So I wanted to distress it a little bit. So I've got some basic black acrylic paint and a slightly damp paintbrush that you can see I'm kind of brushing off the excess on my tabletop there on my underpaper, and I am kind of getting into the cracks and the crevices with that dry brushing, and I'm using my finger to kind of smear it out and pull it back and that kind of thing. If you have one of those little what are they called, like the finger protector things, or if you want to wear gloves to do that, that's fine. I'm always gonna end up with paint on me somehow, so. And I'm doing what I can to like push it back because I definitely want that gold to still be visible. I don't want to completely coat this with the black. I just want it to feel a little tarnished and aged. And I don't know why I wanted them gold. It just felt right. It felt a little more finished than the white PLA. So, and like I said, I used that primer first because I did look up to see how to cover PLA and with spray paint, and it does, what I found does recommend that you use some kind of primer for plastics, and that other spray paint, that first one I used, had the primer in it, and it said it worked on plastic, so I went with it, so I didn't have to go out and buy some other primer. So once I get good and messy with this first one, I am going to move on and do the exact same thing with my other two. So this is how all three of them look. And I decided it wouldn't be me if I didn't add a little bit of something blue in there. So some patina seemed right. So this is an Americana Sea Breeze, I think is what it is. And I've got a super tiny brush, and it is also just slightly damp, and I'm just putting little bits of it around on my skull and then brushing it back. And I'm going to make sure with all three of them I put this patina color in different spots, kind of they're aging in different ways. And I end up, because there's some places I just couldn't get my finger in, I'm going to pull in that damp dry brush that I was using with the matte gel medium to help me like push that paint around in some of those little areas a little bit better. And I found that worked out beautifully. It gave me much more like organic shapes with this patina than my finger was doing. So I definitely recommend having like a second dry brush. I did clean it pretty often, so I wasn't retaining patina on it, but you can see there I kind of used it to help me push it back. And I'm not going to show you all three of these again. Like I said, just putting that on there. There's that brush coming in to move it around, and I'm trying not to cover the whole thing. I love the patina that's on here, but I didn't need it on every surface. I just wanted touches of it. Excuse me, touches of it to add some interest. Then I put all that away and kind of pulled my frame back in. You can see how dirty my fingers got, and I could tell it was still kind of damp. So I'm going to look at this real quick just to kind of get an idea of how I'm feeling about it. And I was pretty happy with it, but I want to add, I'm going to dry it again real quick since it was still kind of tacky. I'm going to add a second hidden message in here. And it's a song lyric from Jimmy Buffett that says, "I'd rather die while I'm living than live while I'm dead." And I think that kind of pulls from the fact that, you know, there's a bird skull. So there's that touch of like death in there, I suppose. And also I just attended a funeral. That's why I had been out of town. So it was kind of weighing on me. So I put that little hidden message in there just as a nod to the bird and to what I was going through. I did pull out a bit of white acrylic paint. That's some Lucas titanium white that I'm going to put in there to kind of push everything back. But before I did that, I decided to protect my frame a little bit by taking some masking tape and taping the inside off, kind of like you would if you were like about to paint a wall, like if you would tape off the molding and that kind of thing. So I'm going around quickly to do that. It's not my best taping job. It wasn't bad, but I definitely got some of the paint in one of the corners where I don't want it. I'll address that in a little bit. I may still have to fix it again, honestly, but I'm not super worried about it. So I did water down my white acrylic paint real quick, and I grabbed that same big paintbrush I had been using with my matte gel, made sure it was nice and clean, made sure all of my tape was secured down, and then I am going to wet it again with that paintbrush again and make just a bit of a whitewash and go over all of this. Now, I honestly thought this was what I was going to do, that I wasn't going to add anything after the white. So that's why I used acrylic paint rather than gesso, because gesso is just a primer for something else, whereas acrylic paint is more of a like finished surface. So if I thought I was going to add something else, I might have used the gesso instead, because I am going to go a little bit further with this background than I thought I was. So I'm going to be super futzy with this. I kept seeing my brush marks in it, and so I would go, one direction and then the other, trying to get rid of the brush marks. I'm also trying to get rid of the paint that's kind of piling up at the edges of the cards, because the cards are thicker than that map that's underneath. So the paint was kind of piling up around it. So yeah, I went a little crazy, and I'm not adding a whole ton of this white, but definitely trying to cover up some things. So finally I get it there, and I'm going to try it and realize that really what I want this to be a little bit darker. Now you can see how most of those materials that I collaged down, you can see pretty well. And that's fine. That, I wanted you to be able to see the card and the yellow and those, and my little hidden messages. I wanted them maybe not readable, but like, they're there kind of thing. But I don't know, the white just wasn't working for me with the gold skulls. So I tried mixing up a couple of different acrylic paints, and I was just like, once I get it mixed, I'm like, this is not a color I want. This is not going to be exactly what I need. And I've got tons of sprays, but most of them are water reactive. And I was like, I don't want anything that's going to be water reactive. So I stop and I think for a second, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have acrylic inks. Duh, Hope. I was like, seriously, y'all, like, what is wrong with me? And so I grabbed this transparent raw umber, which is one of my favorite inks. It's from Liquitex. I'm going to just put a couple, I could see I'd already gotten some of that white paint on the outside of it. And that's okay, because I think this, I haven't decided if this is going to be a standalone piece or if it's going to be part of a larger assemblage. I'm still like processing that. We'll see what week 3 holds and see if I can maybe combine them somehow. So I put several drops in there, you saw, of that acrylic ink, spritzed it with some water, and then I do have a water reactive spray. This is the Distress Spray Stain from Tim Holtz in tea dye. And so I put that in there just as like a difference of color. And then I've got my paintbrush, which does have a little bit of that acrylic paint that I had mixed up on it. And I just moved that mess around into some of the places that I didn't have enough color. So I dried that mostly, but I could see around some of the like the outside edges and underneath some of the cards there was still plenty of liquid. So I'm picking up some of it with a paper towel, trying, yeah, especially those edges, like all the ink had spread out, and some of the gesso, even not gesso, the white acrylic paint was still on the edges. So I took a second and took a look at it and thought, okay, what am I gonna do? And I decided I wanted to darken the edges because, I don't know, the edges, okay, so a couple things. The edges felt too light. Like I could see that there was a difference in the edges, especially here where I pulled the tape up. I could see, okay, yeah, some of the spray and stuff got picked up. And also those skulls, I've put that like that black paint on there, and so it has a darker feel to it than this collage with the sprays on it has. So I felt like I needed a little bit more dark on there. Here's where I tried to fix that little bit of white paint that got on the edge. I put some more of that ink on there. It didn't really do much. It's okay. I'll fix it later. So I'm going to take my Stabilo All pencil because I really like the way it reacts to water. And knowing that I was going to put it down, I first made sure all of those edges were nice and dry so it didn't smear a whole lot. But I also decided at that point that I was going to need to put a spray sealer on top of this to make sure all of these, because I did put that Tim Holtz spray on there, and I'm putting this Stabilo All on there. And I want to make sure that this is like finished. I don't know really what I'm going to do with it yet, but I want to make sure that this part of it at least is finished. So I went around all those inside edges, the creases, the corners, I don't know, with my black Stabilo All, and then I've got a small flat paintbrush that I am activating it and trying to pull it in just a little bit. This is going to add a little bit of a little bit of shadow to the edges, darken this up, give it a little more moodiness. And that's really what I wanted. I mean, these are skulls. It needs to be a kind of moody, right? Kind of spooky. And granted, it is definitely not spooky season, but it doesn't have to be spooky season to have some creepy curiosities and awesomeness in your life. So this would definitely be like a fun little thing to have in a cabinet of curiosities type of thing. So I'm being really persnickety with this. I wanted that black to spread out a little bit more. I wanted it to kind of ease in. So I'm going to work with this a bit. And I definitely didn't want like a straight line of it. I wanted it to feel like it melded into the frame. So that's what I'm doing here, is trying to meld that black in without having just a straight edge of it. So I am taking my time to do that. And once I get that all done, what am I going to do? I can't remember. We'll see together. I just did this yesterday, y'all. I'm going to take a look at my skulls on it and decide what else this kind of needs. And I decided there were bits of it that had a touch of like, right on the edges where that paint had been catching on the cards, there was a bit more white there than I really wanted. So I'm going to come in, there, and see if I can activate anything there. And I'll end up picking up, some more of that transparent raw umber and just trying to go over
where that white is. Now, some of that is that natural white of that card, but really it's that lip of the card, that where the inks and sprays were kind of gathering and not picking up. So I did dry that, and then I have my Rustoleum semi-gloss clear sealer, and I took this outside and sprayed it and gave it some time to dry, and it was perfect. I did bring a ruler in just to kind of see where the center of my of my little frame pieces to, but mostly I'm gonna eyeball this, I can't be super exact. I don't know, that's too futzy for me. I am using E6000 glue. Sorry, y'all, I got a text and I got completely distracted. I don't know if y'all heard that or not. I use E6000 to glue this down, and like I said, I am eyeballing it. Now, I am doing my best to pick up the E6000 if it's showing in any place, because it will dry clear but shiny. So once this dries, I did come back in with more of my matte gel, and anywhere that I could see the shiny of the glue, I took a really fine paintbrush and some of that matte gel medium and put it over the E6000 just so that shiny wasn't there. It just made me feel better. I don't know that anybody in the world would ever notice, but it was definitely like a me thing to like make sure that I didn't have that shiny. It made me feel better. So I'm going to get these down, eyeball them, make sure they're kind of where I want them, and I left them to dry and to cure. And y'all, I am so happy with this. I was on the serious struggle bus trying to figure out what to do with these 4 prompts, and I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody else used these, if they got something as wacky and wild as I did. I'm going to give you several looks at this. Let me know if you have any questions about any of it, and do you think I cheated by 3D printing my skulls? Should I have used something else that was already in my stash? Let me know. I hate to be a cheater, but I did seek out the file and come up with it. So I don't know. You let me know what you think. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you for coming and spending this time with me. I will see y'all later. Thanks for watching. Bye.